impressed with how quickly a room can get quiet. Like, that's one of my favorite things. I don't know. Okay. So, hello. My name is Rima Zalghud. I am the librarian at the Arab American National Museum, the Russell J. Abed Library and Resource Center specifically. I want to say thank you for joining us for the 16th Annual Arab American Book Awards. Okay. So before we get started, I would like to ground us. The Arab American National Museum sits on Anishinaabe land and resides within the region with the highest concentration of Arab Americans in the nation. We also acknowledge our neighboring city, Detroit, as Anishinaabe territory and other indigenous peoples' land as being the largest majority Black city in the nation with a long legacy of African diasporic contributions. Together, we also uplift and honor the indigenous and diasporic communities from wherever you may be joining us if you're watching via live stream. Each year, winners are selected by committees of judges, which includes scholars, educators, and authors, several of whom are here tonight. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the Arab American Book Awards. I would also like to highlight that 2 of our awards are named in honor of our great supporter, Dr. George Ellenbogen, and his late partner, Evelyn Shakir. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the Arab American. Dr. Ellenbogen is unable to be with us tonight, but we are appreciative of his continued support. In the audience with us tonight are attendees of the Arab American National Museum's 2020-2022 Artists in Residence Convening, a gathering of artists the Arab American National Museum has worked with over the last 2 years. There are also several attendees of the MENA Theater Makers Alliance convening. Both groups are celebrating the closing of their time together tonight. Following the book awards, we will be hosting an open mic. We welcome you all to stay after the award ceremony to participate in the event. You can still sign up for the open mic by scanning QR codes located behind select seats in the room. To begin the ceremony, we are happy to introduce a new book award category for lifetime achievement. Beginning in 2023, we will award annually the Anan Al-Amari Lifetime Achievement Award. It is more than fitting to name the category after the person who not only was the founding director of the Arab American National Museum, but was instrumental to the founding of the Book Awards program and has authored numerous books about the community and more recently about her own amazing life. She has dedicated her life to fighting for and uplifting the Arab American community, and I am honored to ask Dr. Anan Al-Amari to come up and say a few words about her continued support for this program.
Thank you very much. It's so wonderful to be here. To be honest with you, I come here a lot, and every time I come, I'm so happy. And really, I want to start by thanking the museum director, Dr. Diana Abu Ali, and all the museum staff for keeping this program and many of the museum not only alive, but even getting bigger and stronger. And also, we had an awful 2 years, everybody knows, where a lot of museums went out of business. But because of our staff, because of the quality of what we have, we managed to stay open, and we also have a lot of new programs, and many of the artists are here today. So congratulations to the staff of the museum, and also congratulations for the winners of the award this year. You know, the Book Award is one of the earliest programs we started. We opened in 2005, and we started the program in 2006. And it took a year, of course. You submit in 2006, and you get the award in 2007. And we have held this program every single year, even when during COVID it was held online. And it's really one of my favorite. As a museum director, when I was a museum director, I shouldn't have favorite program, but this one was really one of my favorite. And you know, it's so nice to see it growing, and more people are submitting books. There's more books about Arab American. Between the time we started the program and now, there's actually explosion about Arab American writing and writing about Arab American. And I think, you know, this is very important because, you know, the book award was established to give visibility for Arab American writers and to encourage more people to write. And, you know, by writing books, we really tell our story from our own perspective. We always complain about the stereotype that exists out there about Arab American, about Muslim American, of course, about other minorities. But one way to combat that is to write your own stories. And I think every story matters. You don't have to be famous, you don't have to be rich. Write your story, write your novel. And that's what makes our people, you know, people around us aware of who we are. And, you know, this way you know, people hear our voices, not what is written about us, but what we think and what we do. I would like to be honest with you, I cannot take all the credit for establishing this museum. When we opened the museum, you know, we're new or we're in a process of building the museum and people come to you and say, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Why did you put this person in this? Why did you do that? And there's a lot of ideas out there come to you and tell you what you should and should not do. So one day I was in an office and I get a call from a woman from the library, from Toledo University, Alice Crossetto. And I really very thankful for her and her colleague Mark. They came, they said, we want to talk to you. And they came, 3 of them, and they pushed the idea of book award. And I have to be honest, I've never thought about it before. And it sounded good, and we grabbed it. We thanked them very much. We said we'll look into it. And I remember the librarian then, and another woman was working here, a young woman, and we looked at each other after these people left. And we said, shall we do it? I think we should do it. We don't know how to do it. And then we said, well, we built this museum. When we started, we didn't know what we were doing, and we managed to do it. I think we can do a book award. And it started right then, and we would, if we don't know, we need an answer, we will call people. I mean, what's good about us then is that when we didn't know something, and there's a lot we did not know, we just called people who know and asked them to help us, and everybody was more welcome to help. And I think the book award is very important because not only because uplift Arab American writers and writing about Arab American, especially in this moment, you know, book matters, word matters, you know. And if you think about the moment we live in and about the attack that is taking place today on books, on libraries, on schools, what they can do, what they cannot do, that tell you something, that tell you how important books are. You know, otherwise nobody would wage a war, and there's today a war on books, you know. And can you, you know, imagine what kind of society we live in if we start, you know, banning books? Think about it, you know, Toni Morrison, I'm sure most of you have heard of her, a great author, African-American. She's a winner of literature of Nobel Peace Prize. They don't want her books in the libraries. They don't want her books in, she's African-American. She talked about the experience of African-American. Just imagine our world if what we know about Arab American, about African-American come from non-African-American. You know, you will have a totally different picture. You will never understand their experience. The same thing with Arab American. We have to think about it in that form. And today, you know, we just had election and everybody was talking about democracy. You know, there's no democracy, in my opinion, if other voices are not heard. So books, in a way, contribute to institutionalize our democracy, you know. Democracy prevails when Arab American, other minorities can tell their story from our own perspective, not what is told about them, but what they tell about themselves. So if you read books, you know, for me, books not only open your mind about a whole world you don't know, but you learn about a lot of other people, other culture. And that's how you create apathy and understanding and sympathy and see what's common between us as humans. So I'm glad we have this award. It's a wonderful project. I'm glad it's growing. And I really want to thank all the authors, whether they won, congratulate the winners, and also thank the authors who did not win for submitting and participating. I also want to thank my friends who are unfortunately are not with us anymore. Dr. Evelyn Shaker, she was the winner of our first book award, and she left money in the museum in her will after she passed away for the museum, and that's how we started the endowment of the museum. And then, unfortunately, we lost another great person, Dr. Barbara Aswad, and she also left money for the museum, for the book award. So I want to thank you for supporting this project, and I want to thank, you know, those who, you know, put us in their wills or when they arrive, contributed to the endowment for the book award. And you know, if a project in the museum or any place is endowed, then it cannot go away because people gave money for this project, and that's how it lived. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for those really impactful words. So the first presentation tonight is the winners of this year's Evelyn Shaker Nonfiction Award, an honor that goes to scholarly, creative works that successfully weave the stories of our community with the realities that we live in. The judges said, "Return to Ruin is an enthralling ethnography on diasporic afterlives, subjectivities, and interpretations. Saleh walks the reader through the intimate lives of the empire's reformations, destructions as she weaves through the legacies of British colonialism in Iraq, the contemporary cut of US intervention, occupation, and decimation, leading to mass dispersion and displacement of the multiplicity of Iraq's people. In thinking about Iraq as an open wound, Saleh constructs for the reader how trauma and empire interweave with one another, shaping how her interlocutors move in the world in the aftermath of violence and exile. Moreover, Saleh's intimate attention to diasporas of empire, how empire shapes subjecthood, provides a deep theoretical intervention into the kin connections between the Arab homelands and diasporas. Return to Ruin pushes the current limits of Arab American studies, offering new pathways forward to reconsidering what the field center interventions are and what its future pathways may be." Unfortunately, Zainab Saleh could not be here tonight, but she did send a video which we will share with you now.
Hello, my name is Zainab Saleh, and today I would like to introduce my book, Return to Ruin. In this book, I aim to debunk Orientalist understandings of Iraq as a place riddled with sectarian violence. And I argue, in order to understand violence and wars in Iraq, we have to look at the US imperial legacy in the country since the 60s until the present. So in this book, I moved from the notion of the nation state as the only lens through which to understand events and to bring in the entangled relationship between Iraq and the United States. Another aim in this book is really to emphasize the stories of Iraqis and how Iraqis experienced that imperial legacy. Through life histories, I look at how Iraqis carved a notion of Iraqi selfhood through gendered and class dynamics, experiences of exile, anti-colonial struggle, religious sensibilities, political debates, and colonial and imperial legacies. If you're interested in the relationship between the United States and Iraq, then this book delves into it. Thank you.
The second Evelyn Shakir Nonfiction Award goes to Mansoor Adayfi for his work Don't Forget Us Here, Lost and Found at Guantanamo. The judges said, much as Mr. Mansoor Adayfi was able to survive the horrors of the torture he described so propulsively, vividly in Don't Forget Us Here, he has, through his brilliance and strength, overcome unfathomable post-traumatic stress to offer us a historical artifact, an indictment of the war on terror's ensnarement of countless innocents and a testament in defense of humanity. His book is a literary feat with bountiful moments of profound beauty, humor, poetry, and effective writing, and it is a spiritual feat in its portrayal of resilience and human tenderness. Don't Forget Us Here, Lost and Found at Guantanamo honors the stories of Arabs in the Americas that don't follow typical archetypes of willing immigrants finding their way here. It honors victims of U.S. state-sponsored terror and devastation. Mr. Mansoor Adayfi has provided readers with an invaluable and revealing look at the egregious injustice of the war on terror. Mr. Adayfi could not be here tonight, but he did send a video to share with all of you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for honoring me with this award. I am Mansoor Adayfi, former Guantanamo detainee. Spent at Guantanamo around 15 years. Also, alhamdulillah, I managed to write the book, Don't Forget Us Here, which it's a teamwork. You know, I call it usually our book because many people help and contribute to this book, which is like the Brothers of Guantanamo. I would like to thank everyone before that. You know, I'd like to thank the Brothers of Guantanamo, my lawyer, Antbeth Jacob, also Guantanamo community, some of the guards, some camp staff, my father and teacher and mentor at Guantanamo, Safia Elhillo. You know, my thanks to my friend editor Antonio and my agent Julia, also Samrim, and everyone who helped to make this happen. You know, the book talk about Guantanamo. It's a unique book. Why? Because it's the only book that covers 15 years of Guantanamo life. The books that takes people inside Guantanamo. You know, when I start writing the book, I would write a book about our life within the detention, our relationship, how we arrived at Guantanamo, how we grew up. You know, the interaction between the guards and the prisoners, among the prisoners themselves, and also about prisoners, about the guards, about the camp staff, about the iguanas, about the life, about the good time, about the bad time, about everything. And I hope I managed to catch that, write that in the book. Why write the book? It's important to write the book because Guantanamo held around like 780 prisoners from all over the world, 50 nationalities, 20 languages spoken. You know, aged between a few months until like 105 years old. So there is a lot of stories, and there is like I want to try to tell the people who really was at Guantanamo. We were just human like anyone else. We have wishes, dreams, ambition. We feel pain also at the same time. So this is the idea of writing the book. My first draft writing the book was Moments from Guantanamo. Then when we started, you know, we managed to get the book out from Guantanamo, we start working with Hasha. It was like, what title are we going to name the book? So because Guantanamo is still open till that day. So we said, Don't Forget Us Here. So to highlight the Guantanamo ordeal, which until that day, like around over 2 decades, Guantanamo is still open, which is Guantanamo becomes a symbol of injustice, lawlessness, abuse of power, and indefinite detention over 2 decades, which is, we are talking about a country that preached democracy and human rights and justice and freedom. On the other side, they held people indefinitely at Guantanamo without charge, without trial, without rights. So in the book, I wanted to bring people inside the life of Guantanamo, stories in our daily life, the relationship, I don't want it to be just a personal story. The idea is just, here's what happened there. And thank you so much again for honoring me with this award. And thank you all for coming today. And see you next time with my next book, Life After Guantanamo. Assalamu alaikum.
So he has a lot of interviews on YouTube. I really recommend you take a chance to look them up. He's so charismatic. It's so much fun to listen to him speak, even as he's speaking about really a very serious topic. So, okay. So next, I'd like to bring attention to Dr. Michael Suleiman, Dr. Suad Joseph, and Dr. Louise Caincar's Arab American Women, the honorable mention in our nonfiction category. Dr. Suad Joseph could not join us today, so she sent a video to share with you about this book.
Hello, my name is Suad Joseph. I'm the Distinguished Research Professor at the University of California, Davis in anthropology and in gender, sexuality, and women's studies. It is humbling to receive the Honorable Mention Award from the Arab American National Museum for our co-edited book, Arab American Women, Resistance and Representation, which I co-edited with Michael Suleiman and Louise Cainkar. The book emerged from the very first conference on Arab American women that was held in 2009 in Manhattan, Kansas, and organized by my dear friend and colleague for many years, Michael Suleiman. It was an amazing conference. After the conference, Michael submitted the papers to Syracuse University Press in 2010 for publication as a book. However, he became ill, as many of you who knew him and loved him know, and he passed away before the book was published. Actually, obviously, he passed away before even the book reviews came in. In March of 2010, just 10 days before he passed away, Michael called me and asked me for 2 favors. And those of you who know Michael know that it's very difficult to say no to Michael, even in the best of circumstances, but certainly under these circumstances, I felt compelled to say yes to this dear friend of mine. The first favor he asked me to do was to co-organize a conference in his memory at the Arab American National Museum on Arab Americans. Elaine Hagopian, Lisa Zuhair, Majej, Nadine Neber, and I did organize that conference in 2011 at the Arab American National Museum. And it was Michael's foresight and inspiration that led us to do that conference that resulted in the founding of the Arab American Studies Association in 2012. It was founded by Rita Stepan, Renda Kayali, Pauline, Hamsi, Vincent, and myself. The Arab American Studies Association has gone on to organize many other conferences, 2 of which would have been at the Arab American National Museum. That was the first favor he asked for. The second favor Michael asked, because Michael never did things in ones, he always did multiple, he was a multitasker. The second favor he asked of me was to take over editing of this book that came out, that he had submitted to Syracuse University Press that came out of the conference in 2009 on Arab American women. As I said, the reviews had not even come in yet. Michael had managed to compile the book, but he let me know he'd not been able to do much editing because he'd been very ill during that period, and that he had not seen the reviews. It took 2 years before the reviews from Syracuse came in, and as Michael had cautioned, it needed work and it took considerable time. When Syracuse University Press suggested that I add more articles to the volume, I invited my very good friend and colleague, Louise Cainkar, who's with you today, to work with me on the final stages, focusing especially on soliciting and editing additional articles that Syracuse would like to have. Having Louise work with me was an amazing experience. Those of you who know her, she's so professional and so dedicated. She added breadth and depth to the volume, and it was a pure pleasure working with her. I will footnote here that Louise and I decided that all the proceeds from the book would go to Michael's beloved Arab American National Museum. What we were trying to do with the book was to situate Arab American women's studies within three intersectional fields: Arab American studies, women of color studies within American studies, and Arab Middle East women's studies. Those three genealogies have been critical to the founding, formation, and progression of Arab American women's studies. We reorganized the original materials under new thematics: the early history of Arab American women in the United States, research on the vanguard generation of Arab American women, representation of Arab American women in the media and in literature, Arab American literary activists, and Arab American political activists. I think I miscounted here because there's also the Arab American women under a securitization regime that began post 9/11, so 6 thematics. We believe that we've assembled outstanding scholars and laid a foundation for additional work on Arab American women, and we believe that Michael would be very proud of this volume. One of the highlights for me personally is that my dear friend of many, many years, Itel Adnan, offered us one of her paintings for the cover shortly before she passed away. The dynamism of the cover evokes for me not only the dynamism of the scholarship between the covers, but also the dynamism of the everlasting contributions of Itel Adnan, a writer, a poet, a tapestry designer, a philosopher. Itel's partner, Simone Fattal, is planning a conference in Itel's honor at the American University of Beirut in February 2003. She's invited me to present a keynote address as a tribute to one of the most powerful and enduring figures among Arab American women. Once again, I want to thank the Arab American National Museum for this honor, and especially thank Lima Zargout for making all the arrangements and arranging for this video. I will actually be with you in November on Zoom as an observer in spirit to honor our dear friends Michael Suleiman and our dear friend Itel Adnan, as well as the many pioneering Arab American women who have contributed so much to this country, so much to us, their humble heirs. I want to turn now to my friend and colleague, Louise Cainkar, who has offered to do readings from the book for you. Thank you very much.
So unfortunately, Dr. Louise Cainkar couldn't be here tonight. So we have Dr. Nina Shomandajani to read some words on her behalf.
Good evening, everyone. I know you're disappointed not to see Louise up here representing herself and the team who worked on this book, but I have the pleasure of accepting this recognition on her behalf. And just a little bit about me for those of you that don't know me. I'm Nina Shomandajani. I'm here with you today from Chicago. I served as a judge on the poetry committee. So thank you to the poets, oh my, Yasmin, and Christian, who were on that committee with me. It's so nice to finally meet you. So it's been a pleasure to be part of this, and thank you for inviting me. I also serve on the board of the Arab American Studies Association, and so Suad alluded to that legacy that we all are honored to be part of. It is my pleasure and honor to receive this award on behalf of Dr. Louise Cainkar, Dr. Suad Joseph, and the late Dr. Michael Suleiman. And Louise, who is a very good friend of mine and a longtime mentor to me, was planning to be here with us tonight, but is in the midst of recovering from the flu and is at home watching us on Zoom tonight. Like many of you, I'm sure you were looking forward to catching up with Louise this weekend. She's an inspiration in the field of Arab American studies, and her work has provided the foundational research and material for many of us who have conducted research studies in Arab American studies and in Arab American communities. I was fortunate to have Louise as my dissertation chair, so I don't think I would have received my doctorate without her. So thank you, Louise. I know you're watching. I'll forever be grateful to you for your guidance. Louise expressed that she is very grateful for this award, and she does appreciate the recognition, but more than that, she is sad to miss meeting everyone and spending time with all the other writers, colleagues, and Arab American National Museum friends. So I just want to share a little bit about this book, and I know that Dr. Suad Joseph did a very good job in sharing a little bit about the history of how this book came to fruition. And some of you may have read about it online, but I just wanted to also mention that this is a collection of essays in this volume that captures the history and significance of Arab American women, addressing issues of migration, transformation, and reformation as these women invented occupations, politics, philosophies, scholarship, literature, art, and ultimately themselves. There's so much more to say about this important volume. Perhaps some of you will pick it up tonight. It's there on the table, and make sure that it's part of your collection if you're teaching Arab American studies. We're fortunate to have this spectacular group of essays all collected here for us in this volume. And again, please read and check out Arab American Women, Representation and Refusal. Thank you.
We're going to slow down for a second to give our fiction winner a second to come back to her seat. All right, we're all good. Okay, so the second award tonight is our fiction category. Our judges have said, Bride of the Sea creates a fictional world that is rich with deep emotional conversations, well-drawn plot, and well-developed characters who refuse to conform to Arab American stereotypes. The novel is charming in terms of the main thread, the conversation, and the predicament of the daughter, who is divided not only between her split mother and father, but also Saudi Arabia and the US. The three members of this family are fractured, and they are on a journey to find comfort and healing in life. The story resonates well with a large segment of the Arab American community living in the United States, as they are trying to navigate their identity in a new setting with new unfamiliar laws and in a new legal system. The family relationships delineated are true to life and shun away from traditional molds of either a patriarchal, oppressive family or a utopian one, celebrating the richness of Arab American culture. This year, the Fiction Award goes to Bride of the Sea by Eman Quotah. Please join me in welcoming Eman to the stage.
That was an amazing description of the book. I feel like those readers really read the book and got the book. So it's really wonderful to hear that before I speak to you. I have so many thoughts and feelings being here in Dearborn, being here in this room with these people. It's really an amazing experience. In Dearborn, almost everyone is Arab, even the people who don't look Arab are Arab. And even the people who aren't Arab are Arab. We're all Arab here. I've been thinking a lot about forebears and ancestors, and even before my son and I visited the museum today, that's what I wanted to talk about. So about 5 years before I began writing what would eventually become my debut novel, Bride of the Sea, this is it. I interned at the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. Some of you may have heard of it. It's mentioned in the museum. And for the ADC's newsletter, I was such a nerd. I reviewed a new book that some were calling the first Arab American novel. It was Arabian Jazz by Diana Abu Jaber. And what a revelation that book was. It beautifully captured a corner of the Arab American experience, and it was the kind of story I wanted to write. That summer, the interns from ADC Most of us were people of Arab heritage. We paid a visit to Alexa Naft. Some of you may have heard of her. She's also in the museum. She's one of the first archivists and historians of Arab America. Her collection at the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History included an object with a long metal handle and a flat round end, and she asked if we knew what it was. And I was the only one who raised my hand. Can you guys guess what it might have been? It's a coffee roaster. Been enjoying a lot of Yemeni coffee here in Dearborn. And so I knew what it was. And for the first time, I felt this connection between the life I had lived as a person raised in Saudi Arabia and America and the lives of people before me and before my father, people before us who had migrated from the Arab world to the US. Receiving the Arab American Book Award means so much to me. This award says we're here and we're writing and we have a lot to say. So I'm going to read the beginning of my novel. Basmala. Hannah dreams the family buries her mother, a woman they haven't seen in more than 40 years. Hannah herself hasn't seen her mom in 20 years. The family buries Sadie in view of the Red Sea, a few miles from Jeddah, where she was born. The water is a perfect, unending slab of turquoise. Hannah focuses on the horizon. The Arabian Peninsula and everything on it disappear. The land behind her, beneath her, beside her. Hannah stands on firm ground. Ahead of her, miles and miles and miles of sea. Before the burial and the sea, Hannah is in a small room with low cushions. Her mother's body lies in the middle of the floor on a sheet spread over a silk rug. Women in mourning white hunch over the body, the sleeves of their long dresses rolled to the elbows. Though she can't see their faces, Hannah knows, the way you sometimes know in dreams, who is touching her mother's lifeless skin. Hannah's grandmother, Auntie Zoranda and Riham, a handful of female cousins. They wash the hands and face 3 times, the arms, the feet, as though preparing the body for prayer, as though the dead could pray. They slide the washcloth down the body's right side and its left side, press the stomach with their flat palms to force a bowel movement. After they wash the body, they expertly swaddle it in white cotton, as though readying a baby for sleep. All that shows is a pale face, cheeks like crumpled sheets of unbleached paper. The women burn sandalwood incense. In real life, someone would be howling with grief, calling her mother's given name, Saida. They would call Hannah's name too, her other name. Oh, Hanadi, God have mercy on your mother. God forgive her and protect her. In this dream, watery silence, as though they are at the bottom of the sea. Her mother looks harmless, quiet and still, an object. The sea becomes a great brown, expansive lake, a sea again, a lake. Hannah turns from the water. Men in white thobes, brown mishlahs, and white headdresses carry the body, the bundle that is her mother, down a beach that shines like a coin. The body is veiled, disguised. It could be anyone. Maybe it is not her mother. Maybe bodies have been switched. Soon the men, these uncles and cousins, both close and distant, are digging and digging, their thobes hiked up around their waists and tucked into their boxer briefs, their mishlahs and headdresses thrown in a big pile on the sand. Behind the men are waves, and there is sound, a whoosh and crash, and someone cussing, and though Hannah doesn't understand the Arabic words, she recognizes the tone of frustration, like someone stubbing a toe or jolting an elbow. Meanwhile, the men dig and dig, and the sand won't stop filling in, and the cussing continues, and the waves crash. One of the men realizes they forgot to say God's name before they started. That part Hannah understands, a miracle of dream translation. The men put down their shovels. Together, their voices sing song, and thrumming, they say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. Thank you, everybody.
All right, so our next category for tonight is the Children Young Adult category. I probably should not be saying this, but it is my favorite category. I was a high school teacher once upon a time, so this one holds a special place in my heart. Anyway, so this year, the award goes to Safia Elhillo for her book, Home is Not a Country. So, Home is Not a Country is a triumph. Safia Elhillo brings us to Nima's world, a young Arab-American girl whose diasporic yearning for identity, belonging in a country she's never seen captivates readers. Weaving in stories of her family, her friend Haitham, and alter ego Yasmin, Nima journeys from the harsh realities of the diaspora and emerges to discover herself, and that home is with her mother and their intergenerational community of strong Arab women. Elhillo's use of free verse, punctuated with vivid imagery and musical references, evokes landscapes and emotions that inspire readers to find deeper meaning between every line. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Safia to the stage.
Hi, everyone. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. My name is Safia Elhillo. I want to say thank you to the Arab American National Museum for this honor and for welcoming me into your community for several years now, for reading my book, and to the readers for your kind words about it. So I am a poet because I am obsessed with precision. I'm obsessed with that feeling of reaching for meaning and finding the exact words with which to make it. And I am trying to extend that commitment to precision towards identifying myself and being intentional about the words I use and allow to be used to name me. So I am an Arabophone Black person, but I'm not Arab. And I think Arab is so often used as shorthand for Arabophone, which leads to a conflation between the two identities. But because of the great trauma of the project of Arabization in Sudan and the actual measurable human cost, even in moments where I feel I might be able to pass for Arab and accept the shorthand, I can't. I'm still trying to find language to harness the intersection precisely, something to hold the fact that I am an Arabic speaker with an identity shaped by this Arabic, but a race independent of it. For now, as clunky as it may be, I refer to myself as an Arabophone Black person, or sometimes as a Black person from the Arabic-speaking world or the Arabic-speaking diaspora. My poet brain hates the wordiness, but it's what I have for now. I also want to be very clear that I am not here to like ponder the greater question of what to call Sudanese people. So please don't go up to like your Sudanese friend and be like, Safia told me you're not an Arab. So, you know, I'm just trying to find something to call myself. Because Arabness is in itself so difficult to define as an ethnic or racial identity. There has always been a tension for me around the fact that I find community with other Arabophone people, while always being aware, often made aware of the relative blackness of my body in those spaces. Still, there is something important and special and worth naming about this experience of shared language, shared elements of culture, you know, the shared pang when a Kulthum song plays. I've found such community with other Arabophone writers and here at the museum, where I've always been treated with such kindness and care. In this novel I wrote for young readers, my protagonist, Ni'ma, is not autobiographical, but she does share my intersections. So it is important for me to keep naming us over and over. Blackness is so expansive and holds so many identities within its expanse, and one of those identities is mine and is my Ni'ma's. So when she is talked about and the word Arab is used, but the word black is not, she is erased. And when she is named as Arab, when she is not named as black, I feel her being taken away from me. This tends to be the cruelty of my intersection, which is that my work, in the absence of my body, is often read as the work of an Arab person. And in the past, this has made my body feel like an intruder in the space. So I want to carve a space in the language that can hold both of us, my work and my body, myself and my Ni'ma, fully and exactly. Thank you. Thank you. All I want to do is talk about myself precisely. And so until I can dig up or make up a term, a single word name, I want to make it a point to take up space with the loose collection of words I have for now. And I appreciate you all for the space to work out some of these thoughts this evening. Now I'm just going to read to you from the book, and it'll be easier. Thank you. So I'm just going to read two poems from the book, the one that opens the poem and then a linked one somewhere in the middle of the book, without giving away too many spoilers, I hope. The photograph. In a lifetime before mine, my parents, not yet my parents, only a slim girl the color of cinnamon, skirt swirled liquid about her knees as she dances, eyes cast downward, smiling shyly at a boy who mirrors her movement to the song, the little gap in his front teeth, cigarette tucked behind an ear and shirt unbuttoned down his chest, sepia hand longing for her waist, frozen, immortal in the photograph, wondering if they will ever touch. So the two people in that photograph are Ni'ma's parents, and you know, many things happen to her over the course of the book, but one of the things which I'm about to read to you is that she finds herself traveling back through time into the scene of that photograph. The photograph. We step into the party at the exact moment my father's hand meets my mother's waist and pulls her closer to him. Her laugh rings out and soaks into the music. The night black as velvet, but for the glow of fairy lights strung across the trees. The air smells green and floral, and in the distance, the faintest smell of smoke. After a few songs, I tear my eyes reluctantly away from my parents to take in the other guests. At a table playing cards, I spot Khaltu Amal, unbleached and smiling, her hair fastened in two skinny braids, and leaned up against a jasmine tree, mostly hidden by its branches, is Haytham's mother, Khaltu Hala, twisting a pearl ring around her index finger and joking slyly with a man whose face is exactly Haytham's. And just beyond them, on a makeshift rickety stage, the band pours its song into the night. The drummer, my Arabic teacher, lanky and with a full afro of hair restored, the loosened tie around his neck. On the keyboard is Abbas, who drives the bus, and leaned up against the microphone, crooning into it like a lover, barely recognizable in his joy, is the man who runs the bigala, though here his face is unlined and without its signature scowl. They all look so happy, so young and full of what is possible. How could they ever have left? Why couldn't I have been born into this version of us, have grown up being sung to, swung from arm to loving arm by both my parents, by their friends, everyone still alive, shining in the heat, back home. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those wonderful and very moving words. So, before we move into our poetry category, I wanted to take a moment to remember and celebrate the life and legacy of the prolific artist, writer, and philosopher Atal Adnan. Who passed away in 2021. Through her literature and her artwork, Atal Adnan has made a momentous impact on the Arab American literary and artistic scene, and the loss of her voice and vision has been felt deeply. May her memory be a blessing and light perpetual shine upon her. So, we're going to shift into our poetry category. This year, the George Ellenbogen Poetry Award goes to The Wild Fox of Yemen by Threa Almontaser. Here is a collection that masterfully synthesizes the poetics of identity, family, and country. Rich in tradition, but dazzlingly contemporary, Threa Almontaser's poems are unafraid to storm the front lines of respectability, censorship, submissiveness in theme and experience. Rooted in dreams and heritage, The Wild Fox of Yemen is a feast around an ancient campfire among ancestors, aunties, cousins, friends, bodega cats, on rooftops with white boys in the trenches of war and the margins of empire. Every page is a discovery. We are shown how laughter can transform a space, how voice can wildly radicalize the page, and how to reject and embrace the process of translation and perception. Next, we have our honorable mention in poetry, Tareq Bechelany-Lynch for their poetry book, The Good Arabs. Please join me in welcoming Eli to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the judges for granting me the honorable mention and the Arab American National Museum, as well as the Arab American Book Awards. It's kind of funny to be here and to have won this award because I'm not actually American. I'm Canadian or I live in Canada. And so I could be a Arab American or Arab North American or something, but I don't really care about nations or borders. So, you know, it's. But I wanted to kind of split my speech in the same way that I split my book, which was in 3. And so. The second part is that it was really lovely to get the ode to Atal Adnan, who's been really important to me as a Lebanese queer poet I think it's important to mention that Etel Adnan was a lesbian poet, and that she is an elder for a lot of Arab queer poets, and she kind of lingers throughout this book. And the last thing I want to say leading into the first poem that I'm going to read is that this book is about a lot of things. It's a hybrid text. It has poems, it has conversations, they're called Conversations with Arabs, that pepper the book, and a short story. And the book is a lot about questioning, it's a lot about thinking through different ideas, identities, places, homes, experiences. And it's, I had a kid at a talk that I was giving who is Lebanese, who asked the question, why do you talk so badly about Lebanon and about Arabs? And I don't think I do. The book is just trying to think about both the beautiful things about being Arab and also the things that we don't like to talk about a lot, and trying to, kind of break those things down, think about those things. And the book is very explicitly queer and trans, something which, as a queer and trans person, feels important to me, and especially for, I think there's this both truth and lie about Arabs, that the community is homophobic and transphobic, which I don't necessarily believe, because that's not nuanced enough to say that. I think there's a lot of things going on, of course, but it feels important to have those identities exist at the same time. And so I'm going to start off with my poem called Nancy Ajram Made Me Gay. And since it's mostly a room of Arabs and Arabophones, I will give you a secret. It wasn't Nancy Ajram that made me gay. It was Haifa Wahbe. Particularly in she has a video where she's like in a red dress and it's raining and things. And definitely I was a young person being like, oh my God, but didn't understand. But her song didn't fit into the poem well, so Nancy Ajram got the honor. So this is Nancy Ajram Made Me Gay, and I often start it with a song as a grounding moment. Ya salam, ya salam, قد حلو الغرام. يا سلام يا سلام قد حلو الغرام. Could be a woman, could be a man, could be someone floating in between or somewhere else, someone in a different country, on a different plane, a different part of Earth's tectonic plates, a space right between two of them, two men sharing a bed but no one knows, a shattering. Earthquakes so normal, we all know the drill. Know to keep the good plates strapped in. Know that sometimes you wake up to shaking, you wake up to floating. Those minutes in between sleep and the shake endless until they're not. You're up and out of the apartment, your pants still hanging between your legs. Pull them up, running down the stairs, hoping no one sees, but someone always does. Could be a woman, could be a man, you never know with this language. Never know when Arabic holds an inherent femininity between her lips, between the short eyes and the breathy ahs. Men's mouths filled with feminized verbs, thrown around like hot pita, the air between the bread swelling, held at the end of fingertips, hot, crisp, and swollen. Cousins, aunts, uncles yelling one end of this long table to the other. Voices mingling in one loud white noise, passing plates back and forth, throwing balls of hot pita, bottles of bira. Before gender still sunken deep into her language, into hugs, kisses between men, the woman's hand resting on another woman's cheek, leaning deeply, looking gently, the moon's wink haunting vast desert nights, the glimmer of the sand sparkling in the light cast, nomadic peoples moving, 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 tectonic plates jerking. I release my femininity in Arabic, move with a body unseen in English. Like every time Nancy Ajram comes on, I get up, wriggle my hips, and summon my preteen body, writhing to the sounds of the oud. My eyes closing as Nancy's voice guides me into the crowd of my family, pulling my cousins into dance, raising my arms, twisting my hips, and emulating Nancy belly dancing in her music video, a shake of the hip for every ahasnak, hand twist, hip shake, hip shake, asibak la. I'm just going to read one more poem. Thank you. It's really fun to be reading here, specifically at the Arab American National Museum, because this book also looks into the histories, particularly of the Levantine, and how, when I talk about not liking nations and borders, thinking about the ways that those nations and borders were created. And as I was walking through the museum, it was nice to see, those histories of people's moving and why people had to move and what happened. And I saw someone with the last name Bechelany, and I got stoked. Anyways, this poem is the titular poem, which is called The Good Arabs. Hassan hasn't talked to me or anybody since the day of green seas, and we reduce it to absence, but they said it's a changing in the weather that signals more to come. And we're trying to understand, but this isn't a jump off the cliff move. It's not a change built over time. I can tell this isn't going anywhere I want it to. We trade in seas for lakes and summon the ancestors whose names we don't always know because family histories aren't always recorded. Maybe I need to jot down a list of names of everyone who's ever walked me home, called when I was alone, ever told me I'm acting like my shit doesn't stink, because love is more than sweetness when you grow up in an Arab family, when you grow up any kind of working class. And any good Arab knows you need to strive for the top, for the change in cars every 2 years, for the kinds of capitalisms we never critique. The generation before ours ate their colonial shame, tried to beg for mercy, and only got a lesson in apathy. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. But what about a lesson in our own histories, our own urgencies, our own violences? Any good Arab knows not to get too dark, because who knows what could happen when you slip further away from whiteness. And the view from the top of Mount Lebanon, any step up is a step down for other people, and yet I'm saying we can't do the job right. The statue of Harisa looking down with tears in her eyes, a miracle. But you're mistaken, my friend, Habibi. She isn't happy. She isn't well. Ya Rab, I'm not religious, but I see our reflections in her eyes, and we're starting to look a little devilish. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Special thanks to our readers for sharing their work with us, and endless. Yeah. And endless gratitude for the Arab American National Museum for creating space for our community's voice to be heard and shared amongst friends. It was my honor and pleasure to be your MC tonight. I encourage you to purchase and support the work of each of our featured authors, as well as the work of some of the Arab American National Museum's past artists and residents who are with us tonight. As a reminder, we do have an open mic starting in approximately 15 minutes, hosted by Yasmin Rukaya. So please stay and join us for that. You can still sign up for the open mic by going to our website, the Arab American National Museum website, and signing up there. Thank you so much.